Hello and welcome to this episode of Health Waves podcast. My name is Eilis. I am your host and nutritional therapist. Today I'm with Brianán Dolan here, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation because it's all about cardiometabolic health, which is, excuse the pun, but very close to my heart. My father died of a heart attack in his 60s. His father before him at an even younger age, and many people have been affected in the family. So it's actually one of the things that brought me into nutritional therapy to, understand the health around this. So really looking forward to having this conversation. So Brianán, you're very welcome on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And you are a naturopathic practitioner. You're also certified functional medicine practitioner. Would you like to just explain what that actually means?
Yeah, functional medicine is looking at the root cause, but the other thing I like about functional medicine is it is looking at prevention.
Mm-hmm.
We say cardiometabolic health, you need to know your markers and see if you're at risk of developing a cardiac event.
Yeah.
And I'm also quite passionate about cardiometabolic health when it comes to women, because we're all aware of breast cancer.
Yes.
You see your breasts when they're in the shower, when you're popping them in your bra or not. But you can't see your heart. And believe it or not, heart disease is the biggest killer of women in Ireland. 1 in 4 women die from heart disease. A lot of them misdiagnosed. It hasn't been put up. They're just a ticking time bomb. So I think it's really important to be across cardiometabolic health. And it's not discussed enough. I'm not dissing cancer because it's a horrible disease, but there's no end of fundraising, awareness of breast cancer, what to look for. We're now talking about colorectal cancer and it being on the rise and what to look for. But heart disease is still the biggest killer, and it's not being discussed enough.
Yeah, you're right. There's an awful lot of fundraisers and an awful lot of things around cancer. But also I heard something kind of scary that a really high percentage of people who will have heart issues, their first symptom is actually sudden death.
Yeah, it's a heart attack, which is scary.
So scary.
Hypertension, high blood pressure is known as the silent killer. Some people do have signs and symptoms like nosebleeds, bad headaches. Other people have nothing with blood pressure of like 220 over 150, sitting duck for a heart attack or a stroke.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things that we need to be aware of. And also with regard to women, once you go through menopause and you no longer have that protective estrogenic effect, you're at the same risk of a heart attack.
And are there various symptoms that we should look out for men and women, or is there a difference between symptoms in men and women?
Yeah, well, men, we tend to know chest pain, pain in the arm. That with women, it's not the same. Nausea, dizziness, heartburn, pain in the jaw. So we always think of heart attack, pain in the arm. That is specific,
clutching the arm,
touching the chest, but not for women.
Okay.
And the other thing, unfortunately, a lot of the drug trials are done on men, and women react differently to drugs. So hence, there's this big imbalance. Like lots of studies that you read, the cohort were predominantly men. So women do make up 50% of the population.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
And you mentioned to me earlier, which I had never actually put the two together, but there's a few conditions during pregnancy that may indicate future complications with heart health.
So if you're diagnosed with preeclampsia or gestational diabetes, you're at more of risk of type 2 diabetes. So once you start going into the menopause, you really need to be on top of that.
Okay.
A good indicator of heart disease is your HbA1c, which is a marker of your 12-week blood sugar over 12 weeks. So that is a good marker.
Yeah.
So the HbA1c would be done every 3 months. And then if you're on the cusp of, then there's lots of lifestyle factors that you can do, like weight, low carb diet, move, eat early, give the insulin a chance to come down. Because the thing that I notice everywhere, the UK here, is people are constantly putting stuff in their mouth.
Yeah.
Eating constantly. So in the ideal, 5 hours between each meal, if possible.
Yeah.
I don't think many people do that because we've got the culture of constantly grazing.
Yeah. Really a fear of going
hungry.
Yeah.
And at the moment, people mainly buy their food from boxes, barcodes. etc. I'm not talking about eating organic. I'm just talking about eating in season and not buying processed
Whole
foods.
foods. Now, certainly in the past, in the 70s, 80s, into the 90s, there was definitely a demonization of fats in relation to heart disease. And it was all about low fat, ingrained in our brains, isn't it? But can you explain the probably greater importance between sugar and insulin and all of that, and probably have more of an effect?
Yeah. So the way I would think about sugar, we say about glycation. When you hear the word glycation, think of something being caramelized on the stove.
Yeah.
And that's basically what's happening inside to every organ, every cell in your body when there's high sugar. Everything is just being corroded, for the want of a better word.
That's a great way of thinking it. I'm thinking of brown sugar on
brown
the pan,
sugar, again,
sticky, and
that's exactly what's happening inside your body. So carb, I'm not talking about not having any carbs, but when you look at your plate, where's the protein? Where's the good fats? Where's the color? I'm speaking for myself. It was quite a bad habit. I wasn't eating until 8 or 9 in the evening and had to stop it. And part of the reason I stopped it was I did the cardiometabolic test and triglycerides were way too high. So that, for me, was a sign of too many carbs, not moving enough, eating too late in the evening. So you need to give your body, the insulin, a chance to come down and then the fat burning to start. Ideally, in the ideal world, if you could have dinner at 5 or 6 and then not eat anything till 8 or 9 the next morning. But most people will eat 5 or 6 and then munch at something about 8 or 9 in the evening. So their kind of habits, or the other thing that drives crunching and munching is stress. For a lot of women, you can't eat your emotions. You're stressed and you start going for the crap because you're so stressed and you just want a quick fix.
Yeah.
It's being aware of things like that.
So now, carrying out the cardiometabolic test, which is specific, it's different to what people get in their regular bloods and the GP, isn't that right?
I love that test because if there's heart disease in your family or you want to see if there's anything coming down the track, if you've got a car, you do an MOT every year. We need to be doing an MOT on our bodies. I'm not saying the cardiometabolic, the comprehensive blood test, cardiometabolic if there's heart disease. What I love about that is it's got your cholesterol, it's got the lipoproteins, the lipo-A, which is a genetic marker for heart disease, your triglycerides, your LDL, your HDL, your oxidized cholesterol as well. Plaque marker, which I suspect is for hard plaque, not soft.
Okay, so that's way more than you get in your regular.
And it's got the glycomark, which is a blood sugar mark for over 2 weeks. And it's got the homocysteine, which again is an inflammatory marker.
Fantastic.
Your CRP, which is an inflammatory marker. Your insulin, when it's elevated, is an inflammatory marker. And it's also got kidney function. So the way you need to think about your heart and your kidneys is a married couple. Go hand in hand.
Okay.
So if your heart is struggling, your kidneys are going to be struggling. If you're on hypertensive medication, it will affect your kidneys. So it's things like that when you see that. And the other thing at that, it also has leptin, which is the hormone for hunger. And it has just a plethora of information that, in fact, to be fair to your GP, he's neither going to have the time to run it. Plus, those bloods have to be spun like centrifuged. But if you're under a cardiologist, I would be asking for that. If you're working with a nutritionist, ask them to run that panel for you. And that gives you lots of information that you can work on and reduce the levels. Like the triglycerides, oh my God, it just jumped out of me. And I was like, way too many carbs. You need to cut right back.
So if somebody, in their 50s, maybe going through menopause or has gone through menopause and they're going, okay, these risks seem really high. Can I just go then to a nutritional therapist, functional medicine practitioner? I don't need to go to a cardiologist then to get this test and start putting in preventative measures.
You can do that, but the thing that I've noticed in Ireland, like the UK, phlebotomists is like looking for chicken's teeth. So, these bloods have to be spun, they have to be centrifuged. It is a doctor's data test, and I love it. And I love the fact that the homocysteine is there because that is also indicative that you need more B vitamins. So, you can easily rectify that. Blood sugar is normal. Cholesterol has gone up slightly, but I would expect cholesterol is a life molecule. You need it for your brain, your sex hormones, your neurotransmitters. It's not the bad guy that it's always painted. For women that have not had an event, I'm not sure a statin is really the first line of defense to go for. There's other things that you can do, like losing weight, being more fit. And then the other thing when I was researching for this is nitric oxide.
Yeah, I've heard a lot
Okay,
about
by
that lately.
yeah. So it's a vasodilator. So people that are hypertensive, their blood vessels are like that. So they're low nitric oxide. The first sign of low nitric oxide in both men and women, dysfunction, like penile and clitoris. There's no blood flow getting there. So if there are those issues, you need to go and do a complete overall to
That
see
makes
what is
sense.
going on. Nitric oxide, things like dark green leafy vegetables,
Beetroot.
beetroot, pomegranate juice, that kind of thing. But the darker and the greener the vegetables, the better. And the other interesting thing is there are bugs in your mouth that help support nitric oxide. If you're using antiseptic mouthwash, it kills them. If you're using fluoride toothpaste, it kills them. And fluoride, I'm not a big fan of. It's a neurotoxin. It can affect your thyroid. You can get natural ones. And then the other thing to look at is if you're on a PPI, proton pump inhibitor, because that drops your hydrochloric acid and you make the nitric oxide in your stomach as well. And if you're taking a PPI, you can't make it there.
Wow.
So there's loads of things. PPIs were just for short-term use.
Yeah, so many people are on them.
So many people are on them, but they need to look at why and if they can wean themselves off it. Because the long-term effects with PPI, there's more and more research and information coming out about them.
Yeah, the risks of long-term use are quite scary, really, aren't they? So what could somebody expect then if they were had that test done under somebody like you, and you're able to look at their markers and say you've seen a few things kind of that could lead to them being at risk in the future or whatever? What way do you work with them?
Diet, first and foremost. Supplements are just the sprinkling, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's diet, and sleep. I mean, sleep is the biggest thing. If you're not sleeping well, you'll eat 300 to 400 calories more a day. You're going to be more hungry. I mean, it's very easy. If you're stressed, it can be very hard to switch it off. But sleep, I think, with most clients is the first thing that I work on.
Yeah, it's kind of the foundation.
It is the foundation.
Yeah.
And habits like working on your computer. I can't work on my computer past 9 o'clock or I will not sleep.
Yeah.
So it's that light that depletes the melatonin. Another thing that I advocate, it sounds a bit woo-woo, is in the morning when you get up and if it's a nice sunny day, stand out in the garden and look up at the sun because that helps reset your whole circadian rhythm. Yeah, so that's really, really good. So diet, movement. And if you've got a desk job, set your phone for 25 minutes and then get up and just move around for 5-10 minutes. Don't sit all day. Sitting is the new smoking. If you look at old photographs, we say from the Victorian, Edwardian era, you don't really see obese people. 60% of the adult population in Ireland are obese.
I know.
1 in 5 children are obese. And the issue that I have with that, with children, is they've got non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
I know.
So you kind of think we're just setting the whole population up for chronic and long-term disease. So a lot of processed crap.
Yeah.
It's just a sugar head. And just think glycation.
Yeah.
I think a high sugar tax would be great. They've talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas now people just buy crap.
I know.
Want to be better
and
word.
I do think Sophie Morris is having a great impact on Instagram. They're less processed, which is great because people still need to buy sometimes packaged and processed to a degree. So I think that's having a great impact on public health. Hopefully.
And I think, to be fair, if you're a working mom, you're not going to be thinking about making dinner from scratch. No. So I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
But the issue with takeaways is it will be seed oils.
I know.
And people don't understand how bad they are for our health.
Yeah. And even going out to restaurants, most likely, if they're trying to save in the kitchen, they're going to be using cheaper oils than you would.
Cheaper oils. You know, you don't really know what you're getting in a restaurant.
So what are your thoughts then around there's a lot of talk about intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, fasting, or I like fasting myself. What are your thoughts around cardiometabolic health?
I like fasting as well.
Yeah.
But I think, unfortunately, for a lot of menopausal women, it may not be the correct thing for them, simply because a lot of women that I've seen in clinical practice, once they go through the menopause, their thyroid or adrenals are struggling.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then I would not recommend
Yeah.
intermittent fasting. If they don't have those issues, great. If they do have those issues, I would ask them then to leave a minimum of 5 hours between each meal. And when you say that to some people, they look at you like you've just cut their throat. It's like 5 hours. Oh my gosh.
It's not that long.
It's not that
like
long.
You have your lunch at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And each
Yeah,
dinner
but the
is
thing
6.
is, if you have your breakfast at 8 and then you're in the office and you have something at 10,
Yeah.
you know, there's that, or you have your lunch at 1 and then there'll be something in the
Afternoon
office at 3.
tea and biscuit.
Yeah. So it's those kind of things. It's that environment. And if you're there, the kind of habit that, but if you're at home, yeah, it's kind of easier to get around
If you're
that.
not sitting at a desk and you're running around doing jobs, probably easier. So it goes back to everybody being individual, doesn't it? And there isn't a one size fits all regarding any of these things that you bring into someone's life. So fasting, again, if you have thyroid issues, if you have adrenal issues, you're really then bringing more stress on yourself by doing a long fast.
You don't want, and you don't want to put that on someone. So each person is different. If somebody is on a statin and they have to be on a statin, they have to go on CoQ10.
Yes.
So CoQ10, you need it for mitochondrial function, ATP, which are the little batteries in your cell. Or if you've got bad gum disease, CoQ10 is very beneficial. So I had a client that reached out and wanted to do a comprehensive blood test. And a couple of the markers were elevated, but the one that really jumped out at me was her homocysteine. So after I'd done all of that, she said to me, "Oh yes, and I had a heart attack last week." And I went, "Oh my God."
Oh, wow.
And she said, "I've been put on a statin, and what do you think of that? If you've had an event, the research is saying, yes, you should go on a statin. And that is something that you need to speak with a cardiologist." She reached out to me after 2 weeks and said, "My blood sugar has gone through the roof. I can't sustain it. I can't tolerate it." And again, I said, "You have to speak to your cardiologist." But interesting enough, that is one of the side effects of statins is it can raise your blood sugar. So then it feeds into becoming more insulin resistant. So for women, the biggest things for cardiometabolic health is high blood pressure, diabetes, being insulin resistant, and belly fat.
So statin is not going to do anything for any of those.
It's not.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult because statins are being just thrown out like Smarties. Once you go in and they see the LDL, it's like, oh, you need a statin. And sometimes it's very difficult to go against your GP on it. But if you're on one, you definitely need CoQ10 and a good dosage because it has got a short life. So again, I would do a split dose of that and then get those markers down within reason. You know, there's other things you can take, red yeast rice. You can take that. It has the same effect as the statin, but without a lot of the side effects. Women tend to suffer a lot with muscle pain and brain fog with statins as well. So there are those side effects that you have to be aware of. So, yeah.
And also, would you like to talk a little bit about omega-3s and their effect on the triglycerides?
Most of us will have a high level of omega-6 just in our diet in general. But you need good levels of omega-3 greater than 8%.
Yeah.
Genova Diagnostics do a great one, Nutrival, and that does everything. And I did it on a client and her omega-3 to omega-6 was only 4%.
Yeah.
So she was at high risk of a cardiovascular event. So omega-3s, I love them.
Yeah.
EPA, DHA, anti-inflammatory, what is not to like?
I know.
And the other thing I like for someone that is on maybe the trajectory of perhaps having a metabolic event, I like a good dosage, a high dosage of it, at least 6 grams a day. So I like a good healthy dose because sometimes the dosage isn't enough.
No.
So sometimes people feel safe because they're taking something, but actually they need the therapeutic dosage of it.
And that's where, again, it's great to talk to somebody like you who knows the various supplements. And because if you don't know and you're going to a shop and you just see omega-3, you think there's a difference. One dose could be, 100 and something EPA and another another supplement brand can have 600 and something, you know. So you can't expect the common person to understand all the supplement market as well. So that's where I think we come in.
And the other thing when you're buying the omegas is to see where have the fish come from, like
Yes.
anchovy, herring, not big fish.
So another thing, I'm very passionate about vitamin D, as you know, the impact that it has on heart health.
Yeah, vitamin D is more a hormone, as you know, rather than a vitamin. It is an immune modulator. I have been working with somebody here in Ireland, and to get the GP to check her vitamin D just would not do it.
It's just
ridiculous because with
Yeah.
chronic illness, you will gobble up the vitamin
I
D, for
know.
the want of a better
Yeah.
word. So again, somebody might be taking, I think the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is 1,000. That's for somebody that's healthy. Somebody that's ill
Yeah,
is
I
going
think
to need.
it's actually less. Would
It's
you
less
believe?
than. Oh my God.
Well, like if you were to be prescribed, yeah, it's actually less than that. It's, I think it depends. I think there's different amounts per age profile, but it's really low. It's like maybe 800 for one, and then 600 for younger. And they were going to increase that to 1,000. And I was really disappointed. Actually, a few years ago, the Oireachtas had a big report. It was actually during COVID, and they realised the implications of high vitamin D on reducing the risks. And I got really excited. I thought, oh my God, Ireland are going to be at the forefront. But no, it disappeared, and I never heard of it again. I think I'd go as far as saying there's like an epidemic of low vitamin D.
I would agree with you.
Because it's associated with so many conditions. Like there's nothing where it's not implicated, you know, in the story of somebody's health. And then for it not to be tested routinely in blood tests is mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling. And the thing about it as well, like in Ireland, great, but the clocks are going to go back next month, and I hate that. And a lot of people suffer with seasonal affective disorder. You need good levels of vitamin D to get you through the winter.
Yeah.
So you need really good levels of vitamin D.
I know.
And for anyone, as I said, that's chronically ill, if their vitamin D is checked, it's always on the floor, 9 times out of 10. You know, just touching on COVID, the biggest thing all governments could have done across the globe was to check everyone's vitamin D.
I know. Can you imagine?
Check the vitamin D, check their zinc. That would have saved, I think, a lot of maybe people going on to develop long COVID.
I know. Yeah, it's absolutely mind-boggling. And I think and for anyone with an autoimmune disease, they should keep their levels even higher. And I suppose that's because it's going to be just, you know,
it's used up.
Yeah.
Anyone with a couple of autoimmune diseases will gobble up vitamin D, and it does need to be regularly checked. And that's gone back to cholesterol. You need cholesterol to make vitamin D.
Yes.
And the statin, again, inhibits the synthesis of vitamin D. So it's a vicious, more and more people are waking up to statins, and maybe, you know, that's why a lot of men are running in to buy Viagra if they're on statin, because their testosterone is on the floor. And I was somewhere where two people were comparing their cholesterol levels. Oh, mine's 3, and the doctor doesn't want it above 5. And I was like, oh, 3 for cholesterol.
So low, yeah.
Too low.
Yeah, very, very low. Something there about to do with the gut microbiome. And can we explain a little bit about the link between our microbiome and heart? And how
we've got these bugs in our mouth that help us make nitric oxide. But if you also, I would say to anyone that is on hypertensive, perhaps the blood pressure is not coming down, to look at their oral microbiome. And when you think about it, there's not much distance between your mouth and your brain. So again, that has a big impact. Like Alzheimer's is known as type 3.
Yes.
Diabetes. Periodontal disease drives heart health, believe it or not. So flossing, those stick things that cost an arm and a leg, all of that every night is really, really important. So yeah, your oral microbiome, gut health, believe it or not, starts in your mouth and then moves down here. So that's what I was saying about the PPI and the nitric oxide. It inhibits that.
Yeah.
And then bad bugs in your mouth inhibit the production of nitric oxide. So someone that's hypertensive needs really good levels of nitric oxide to dilate those blood vessels so that everything is pumping through.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple as taking a hypertensive. Sometimes if it's very high, of course. But you must be aware that hypertensive deplete your B vitamins. Beta blockers deplete your potassium. So the drugs have the place, but then your doctor needs to be aware what micronutrients are being depleted as well. So anyone on hypertensive, depleting your Bs, then your homocysteine is going to go up.
Yeah.
The other thing I feel quite passionately about is CRP. Historically, it used to be less than 1. I suspect in the HSE, I know on the NHS, they say less than 5 because everyone is becoming sicker.
Okay.
So when I see someone coming in with a CRP of 3.5, I'm not happy about that because it's a slow burning fire going on. And then you put in an event and it's throwing petrol on it.
Yeah.
So for your GP, if you're hypertensive, your insulin, your homocysteine, your CRP, your cholesterol, your triglycerides, and then the lipofractions, lipo-A that
Little A,
which is
yeah.
genetic, and also the ApoB, which is the one that's kind of damaging the
Yes.
arteries to see. Again, that's on the cardiometabolic. So if it's out of
Okay.
range, you kind of know there's damage going on at the moment, so you want to stop that. So that's why test, don't guess. You can see some, when I see lots of people walking around with big bellies,
I
I
know.
think type 2 diabetic,
Yeah.
on your
I'm
way
the
to a
same.
heart attack.
Yeah.
The other thing, if I'm working with somebody, I do like the continuous glucose monitor. I
Yeah.
know it gets a lot of people say, oh, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But it actually educates people to what foods. Sometimes a healthy food is not good for someone because of the biochemistry.
And my blood sugars could spike after something, whereas your one
Yeah.
particular food, whereas yours mightn't spike as much.
Yeah, oats don't agree with me. I don't particularly like oats,
Yeah.
but oats are classed as a healthy food.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Everyone is different, so just a healthy food. And the other thing, talking about nitric oxide, is you can buy these strips that
Oh,
measure.
I only saw them the
Yeah.
other day. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And they're
that,
fairly easy to use, aren't
yeah,
they?
they are. So it's being on top of it, not just relying on the drug. You know, you may need to be on hypertensive for a while you kind of move,
Yeah.
lose the weight, stop eating the crap, like chocolate, things like that. I think the biggest tip for all of us is just don't have it in the house because if you're having a bad day, of course you're going to go for it. So it's things like
Yeah.
that. It's food first more than
Definitely.
anything else. And 100 years ago,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be much ultra processed food. Everything
No,
was
there
made.
wasn't.
There was no obesity because they were on the go all
I
day,
know.
every day, and standing. So, as I said, sitting is the new smoking, definitely.
Yeah.
And then when you think about school kids, it's less and less PE. A lot of them have sold off their playing fields or they only get PE once a week. Kids need a lot more than that. They really do. Their mental health and physical health.
Yeah, and they've nearly been trained into the snacking thing. They have the breakfast in the morning, they go in, an hour later, there's a small break, 2 hours later, there's a big break, come home, you have to have a snack. So by the time it's dinner time, they're on their like 6th meal or something. It's trained in this constant eating.
For
Yeah.
working mums, that's not always
No,
feasible.
so what would be your top supplements? I know that it's food first and movement and sleep, and supplements are only the
Sprinkling.
So, but if you were to take supplements, what would your kind of go-to ones be? So you're talking about heart health. So
Definitely CoQ10 anyway, the part of the electron transport chain. So you need it, as I said, for energy production, all of that. Fish oils we've discussed, vitamin D at a good dosage. Again, you need to work with a nutritionist on that to work out
know.
what the dosage is. It's not as simple as saying 2 or 5 or whatever. You need to know what your rate, what your levels are.
yeah, and they can do a test.
They can do
Acid
the finger prick test. And then if it was a blood sugar issue, I quite like berberine. Statins inhibit GLP-1. That feeds into insulin resistance for morbidly obese people, 100%.
Whilst working with somebody on their diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Their
Lifestyle,
cause,
all of that. What I'm
yeah.
worried about is it in 5 years' time, we're going to find out various side effects of the GLP-1s?
No doubt.
I am, because there was a couple of cases in the States for gastroparesis and pancreatitis. Thyroid. And I was like, do you know what? I'm not surprised. But I think this wonder drug, and then you're looking at people being malnourished because they've no appetite.
I know this is what I can't get over is that if your appetite has been suppressed, how are you going to get then the nutrients that you do need? And also if you're coming from a bad diet and you're just taking it without help from somebody qualified like a nutritional therapist or naturopath, then when you are eating, you're still going to be eating the crap food. And then you haven't got to the root cause, maybe trauma, maybe whatever led you to here. And so you're either going to stay on forever
I think the GLP-1s are big, big business for the pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
When I realised that 60% of the adult population in Ireland was obese, I thought we are following America
Yeah.
with this trend.
as-
And the GLP-1s, it's going to be like a mortgage for people. Paying that every
I
month.
know. I
felt uncomfortable watching it. Statins were supposed to be this, that, and the other when they came out. And now here we are, X amount of years down the road, and all these side effects, not very pleasant, are coming out. And I suspect it will be the same with Mounjaro.
the weight then is lost through muscle. And so I'm thinking of, say, a woman my age, your estrogen has already dropped. You want to hang on to the muscle that you have and work on that. You certainly don't want to lose any of it through weight loss.
Muscle equals longevity. I don't think can see why people go for them, and I can understand them using them for X amount to get started. But what I didn't, a lot of them had lost the weight, and then when the scales, they almost had a meltdown if it was 2 kilos up or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, there's one final thing I want to touch on as well. You mentioned belly fat and cardiovascular disease risk, and I often say to clients when they're very conscious of weight, and I always say it's better to not yourself, but to go by the measurement of your waist, the waist hip ratio.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Yes, but I agree with you.
You can look it up online. That's very simple calculation.
It is,
between the circumference.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I would say to clients, measure yourself. Do not weigh yourself. And judge your clothes, because the scales then become...
Your weight fluctuates as well from the morning to night. And everybody knows when they're comfortable in their clothes as well. So it's much healthier. So maybe we can just mention, you've already gone through a case that you were working with where all their markers improved and that. That must be fantastic when you see that.
It was.
Yeah, that's amazing. So would you have 5 tips maybe for people to take away with regards to cardiovascular health?
The first one I would say with the client was we did work on sleep because she wasn't sleeping properly. We did work on movement, but again, she didn't want to go out because she was a long COVID all year. So her immune system had just crashed.
Okay.
So was that. The other thing was, I'm not a big advocate for fruit. I don't mind things like berries.
Yeah.
But I remember she was eating a lot of mango and melon, which is very, very sweet. So that changed. So again, it was berries, kiwi, that kind of thing. And more protein, fat, and less carbs. And if there was carbs, again, if you've got a thyroid issue like she had, you do need a certain amount of carbs. So you can have it through root vegetables. It doesn't have to be rice or pasta or anything like that. And lots of water. Yeah, it was those kind of things. And then being regularly checked by the GP. So it's like movement. You don't have to go outside. You can do it in front of the telly or with weights. Sleep. Food. Good fats. Very good fats. Like you look at the Mediterranean diet. You know, they don't really have heart disease there. So it's a nice plethora of lots of colour. The thing I do say to clients, and their face always falls with this when I say it, in the ideal world, I'd like 12 portions of veg a day. Come the winter time, you're not going to fancy a salad and you're not going to fancy a smoothie. So you can have a soup and something else on the side. And then dinner.
Soup's a great one.
And then dinner, the nitric oxide that we've been talking about, broccoli, kale, chard, at least 3 different colours of veg in your plate, like broccoli, sweet potato, maybe some cauliflower. Not just, I think we're all good at doing the beige and that it needs to be more colour. As I said, eat and season, then it's not expensive. So I would say that, but it is the movement. I think we all sit too long. Too long in front of the binge on Netflix or whatever. Not a good idea.
That's excellent. They're brilliant tips. And I think then insulin resistance, so you're keeping an eye on your blood sugars, and low carb diet, movement, sleep, and then supplements if needed. Certainly vitamin D in the winter and in Ireland.
Or even in the summer in Ireland.
I know.
And the other thing that I would say, anyone that has private health insurance and are under a cardiologist, I like a targeted approach. So ask for a CIMT, which is a thickness scan. So that will pick up the soft plaque. And the soft plaque is the dangerous plaque. That's the one that can rupture and cause the heart attack. So if you have that, it's just a scan on your neck, on that artery.
So
And then
easy enough to get, but you have to go through a cardiologist.
you probably have to
through
go
your
to a
insurance, through your-
cardiologist. I've noticed here in Ireland, if people have private health insurance, it still takes them 3 weeks to see
Yeah,
somebody. I
yeah.
find that slightly amusing. I know I just find it odd.
Yeah.
Whereas
yeah.
in the UK, if you have private health insurance, you see the person the next day or the end of the week or whatever.
So what about the CAC? CA?
The CSE,
Different.
yeah, but it won't pick up the soft plaque.
Okay.
And the CIMT, I would think, is the gold standard
Okay.
if there's a cardiac issue
Okay.
in your family. And so
Right.
then you can have a targeted approach rather than second guessing. Say like in your family,
Yeah.
you know, with your dad dropping down dead and your grandfather. In that situation, yes,
Yeah.
you want to know what your risk factors are, what is going on. As I said, it's different with your breasts. You see them. Your
I know.
heart don't see.
And sure, we're called for our screens and
All
all of
all
that. So
but
you
not your
never-
heart.
Oh gosh. Okay, right. You have me sold anyway. Haven't done the cardiometabolic test, but Jesus. I think I want everyone in my families to do it now, all my siblings. And I mean, it's a great way of kind of future-proofing, isn't it? Not to be just living and going, oh, you know.
I think assuming that you feel okay. I think the only time any of us pay attention to our heart is if we start to have palpitations, and breathlessness.
Yeah.
And then we think, oh, I think there's something wrong. Otherwise, you don't bother. And also blood pressure, as I said, you could have really high blood pressure and not even know it.
That's true. Yeah.
So, you know, again, sometimes you have to ask your GP to do it. They don't seem to do it as a matter of course. So as to get a feel for where that blood pressure is.
Okay. Okay, well, you have me sold. I'm definitely going to look into this more. And it's been an absolute pleasure hearing all that we can do. And we'll definitely probably talk again because it's such an important topic.
It is. It is. And there's more research coming out, which is really interesting.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Before we end, where do people find you?
All right. So my website is brianándolan.com. So
brianándolan.com. And you see people one-to-one?
I do. I see people one-to-one. I see a lot of people on Zoom as well with people that are chronically ill. Like the client that I worked on, it was 2 6-month packages.
Okay.
So I find that seeing somebody every 4 to 6 weeks with someone that's chronically ill doesn't work.
Yeah.
You need to be on it, and there's a lot of coaching involved.
Yeah.
That you're there for them to if they're not having a good week.
It's amazing support.
It is.
Help
It
them
really
with
paid
everything,
off.
their shopping, their food choices, that's amazing.
No, it works really well. Thank you.
And are you on social media?
I am. I'm not the best in social media. I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to that.
Okay. Well, so people can find you anyway. No problem. Okay. Lovely to chat to you.
All right. Thank you
so
Alice.
much.
Thank you.